Welcome, everyone. This is a special edition Every Second Matters live stream. Um, so, we are going to be talking what Every Second Matters is, and then do a little advocacy talking and everything. So, first in tonight, or this morning, was Mr. Chris from the 740. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. And our co-host extraordinaire, Mr. DM Foss.
Good morning.
So, for people that may not know what Every Second Matters is, on the 2nd of every month, we hold like the advocacy side. So, on the 2nd, Every Second Matters, on the 2nd day of each month since 2013, like-minded firearm owners who want to join the conversation about the Second Amendment and keep our rights to own firearms alive, promote 2A groups, keep up to date on upcoming 2A events, share posts, and 2A groups you support. And you can go to everysecondmatters.com. I know Mr. G. Webbs is one of the founding guys for this. It's been through quite a lot of people who have helped keep this going. If it wasn't for Mr. Kingpin and G-Webs, I would never have found out about Every Second Matters and would not be helping promote and trying to keep this conversation going. So ask Chris and Foss if they have any of the 2A advocacy that they have come across or want to kind of promote a little bit before we go deep diving into this.
I mean, really, I found all this stuff through you, and then started watching G-Webs and Guns of Barbecue and a lot of these other 2A channels. So, it's like we've talked before, I didn't really know any of this streaming stuff existed or anything until I met all you guys. So, there's a lot of good guys out there promoting it. That is for sure.
Oh, yeah. So, one way I know a lot of us promote is little short videos on YouTube, just taking pictures of like your EDC, posting comments on other social medias with the hashtag Every Second Matters or E2M. Some people go out and about open carrying if it's available, by law in your area, or some people will just open carry an empty holster to try to talk and start a conversation. I think they're all great ideas, and I'm kind of really, really positive about now that we got the SCOTUS ruling, because I reading it and actually reading into it and hearing the way other people are talking about it, especially some of the lawyers like Washington Gun Law, they're talking about how this can lead, due to the wording of text and tradition, that it can actually put the pathway to start really taking away all the anti-2A gun laws. It's just how far are we willing to push this? And I think this is now we're in the driver's seat. Is anyone else kind of feeling that same?
Yeah, we definitely got to keep the momentum going now.
Yeah, I know SCOTUS came out, what was it, on Thursday, and said that they're willing to hear 4 more 2A decisions next session if the lower courts don't re-rule on them. They vacated the lower court's ruling and said, hey, you guys really need to redo this. But if they don't, they have given the writ of certiorari to go ahead and take on I think it's Maryland's 10-round mag ban, California's assault weapons ban, Hawaii v. Young, which is another permitting where they won't allow anyone in Hawaii to have a concealed carry permit or a open carry. So I think everything's trending in the right way if we really keep pushing this. So I'm gonna run down the side chat real quick because we're starting to get some people out there. So first in was Mr. Kingpin saying happy every second matters, happy 2A appreciation month. So I know Kingpin starting a new advocacy where every July, the entire month of July is going to be 2A appreciation month. So I know he has a video out there. I would check that out. Mr. Christian Grest is out there. Chris pulling double duty. We got New York Outcasts out there. DJ Play Nice is out there. Big Al. Keith Gregory. Gunmetal Guy USA. DM Foss pulling double duty. Georgia Trapping and Fishing is out there. So, Big Al. Thoughts of an Old Soldier. You got Kevin Jung is out there. And then we have JNL Shooting Academy, which is a new channel from Thoughts of an Old Soldier, who is going to be doing some firearm training and education on that channel, and it's going to be just focused on the more of the firearm side and not the advocacy side. So
I just put a link out there to Kingpin's video.
Big Al says a conservative governor and speaker of both houses in your state, and things move one step towards, or one step turns to 2 and then 3, and suddenly you have constitutional run state and not agency legislation. So it's always a great, I would love to see more and more of our states go constitutional. So we've got New York Outcast out there, Tactical FUD.
Well, half of them are, so it's a good chunk. It's a good start.
Yeah, we've got 25 out there and threatening at least 3 more that are going to be possibly, if hopefully maybe the third time's the charm for Louisiana, and they'll get constitutional. Maybe we can get the rhinos out of Florida to finally wake up, and I don't see why Florida could not have had constitutional carry, except that the rhinos completely shot it down. Uh, conservatives run the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion in Florida. And they have a complete pathway of just shoving pro-2A, pro-Constitution bills down everyone's throat. And yet they just sit idly on their hands and trying to rest on laurels. And something I think needs to be done to shake that up. We really got to start fishing out and getting rid of the rhinos. Just my opinion. So we've got Tread out there. And so, what was it? I think Thursday, again, SCOTUS made the ruling on West Virginia versus the EPA. Did anyone hear or read about that ruling?
No, I didn't.
I heard about it. I haven't read it yet. See exactly what it says.
So, the pretty gist of it is that SCOTUS slapped the EPA down and said, guess what? You don't have Chevron doctrine. You cannot, that's outside the scope. You are not able to create law. And that falls under the Congress, and you guys can only, advise Congress, and you can only follow what rules and regulations that Congress puts out. With that being said, and them slapping them down, that's the same way the ATF is going after bump stock. That went after bump stocks. They're going after pistol braces using the same steps. They're changing the redefinition of receivers. And if you notice, shortly after that, the ATF then decided to switch it to they weren't going to be releasing anything until late December. Now, are they going to try to get Congress and stuff to re-rule on how everything is? But again, following New York Pistol and Rifle versus Braun, you would have no text or tradition, so it would never pass that muster. It would never pass strict scrutiny. How would they then think it would be able to be held up in front of a SCOTUS challenge? So, I cannot think of a single anti-2A bill or law on the books right now that if you follow SCOTUS's ruling, they can pass muster. There's no way that a single one of them that will be able to stand. Because there is no text or tradition that allows for stepping on our rights. I mean, right in, you look at the Second Amendment, and it tells you right in there that it, shall not be infringed. I know a lot of people scream that as like a rally cry, but right now this is one of the key factors for text. Well, guess what? and then there's no tradition. I mean, there's nowhere in like history where back during the founding that allowed for the oh crap, I'm drawing a blank on the like being able to keep people from owning firearms or stopping people from owning firearms. I'm not. So, where Tread says, except for getting the SCOTUS to take those cases. You know, I don't know if a light switch got flipped on in SCOTUS or what happened. And he's right. Tradition says that SCOTUS hasn't taken on 2A cases very often. And after they took on the New York pistol, now all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, we're going to take on 4 more. You know, so they're starting to pick up more of the constitutional cases. So I do see them going and starting to say, you know what, enough's enough. You guys have trampled on the citizens' rights long enough, and if it gets brought in front of us, we're going to take it up. We're going to rule on this. Do you guys have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I think it's cool they picked up these case that they took that case and did what they did with it, and hopefully they jump on these other 4 pretty quickly. But I'd just like to know what lit that fire, you know?
You know, is it that, you know, they've decided that they're going to start doing this because of all the threats, the doxing of SCOTUS? Have they decided, you know what, we're going to actually, you know, start doing our jobs? You're right. I would love to know what triggered that light switch to be flipped on. I kind of think that the doxing really, really helped, you know, on the fact that they're going to pick up more cases because, oh crap, what's his name? It is too early, like Tread said. It's too early really to be thinking.
You're the one that scheduled this.
I know. I thought I'd be awake. Clarence Thomas. So, with him being, you know, just crucified by the left, and other people, and you know, I mean, here lately he's been taking the brunt of some really nasty racism, and it's blatant. I mean, they're not even trying to hide how they're being towards him. I mean, saying he's not black. I won't even say some of the other stuff that they've called him because it's kind of offensive, and I don't agree that they should have ever even thought about saying what they said. Good morning, Mr. G Webs.
Morning, G Webs.
So I don't know, because he hinted at going back and re-ruling on what the media's protections are and starting to strip a lot of their protections. So
yeah, the media stuff's out of control. And we talked about that last night, especially like with Instagram right now. If you put up a picture, like, okay, for instance, like Gizzard Gary does the whole Gorn thing on Friday nights and Sundays, sending, you hashtag it in the thing. Well, they've got that hashtag blocked right now. Like, you can't, that doesn't work. So if you put up a picture and you tag him in it, he's not going to see it. The other thing that they're doing too is like, you can, if you want to tag someone in your photo, you used to be able to just like type in the first 2 or 3 letters of that particular person's handle on Instagram. But now you have to spell that whole thing all the way out. I mean, the way they're policing that is insane right now. The time and effort they're putting into it to just block anything gun related whatsoever. But then we get back into that, like, well, it's their software, it's their show over there, so they get, they can do what they want. But
yes and no.
All right.
So I get where you're saying, not to really cut you off on this, but as long as they are a platform and they are using platform protections, then they truly don't have the legal right to be blocking stuff. Yes, they own the platform and everything, but there's a difference between platform and publicist, and so they've got to figure out how to try skirting that line. So
I just got back, but I've been kind of back and forth. I just heard what you were saying at the end here. We talking about, I think Chris saying YouTube blocking people or whatever.
Yeah, we were just talking about we were talking about Instagram, just how much they've tightened up the noose on these anything gun related right now.
Well, it's not anything gun related. So they don't like it when any account gets flagged because there's too many, just looking at it from a practical point of view, giant platform, millions and millions of people. So best they can do is tag stuff and try to put some kind of hooks onto users or users' actions or something so that they can try to determine what's going on out there. Because of course they got to get rid of the bad, right? The evil has to go. So they have to do that. Everyone agrees on the evil has to go. So then it gets down to the gray areas of what's evil and what's not compared to something or in somebody's point of view. So that's where it gets into any kind of thing with millions of users. There's going to be gray area. So I'm not justifying nothing. I'm just going to say this. There's one person out there that's in our community, not in our realm, but like in the gun community, never really hangs out with any of us because he's too good for us. But constantly, all he ever does is go get a movie, like a regular old movie, like a primetime movie with actors in it, chops out a piece of it, writes something on it, and then puts that on their channel and says, haha, or like, gotcha, or whatever, like some kind of meme thing. But that's super copyright. Like that's 100% taking somebody's content and writing your name on it and then putting it on your thing. And you're going to get a copyright strike from a company who has to defend that. That's the thing. Like there's something about copyright or trademark where you have to defend that. Otherwise you're giving it up, right? So there's people that own that stuff, and they have to tell lawyers that, hey, you see this, we're giving you $50, go after them, or whatever it is, $500, go after them. It's worth it to us because we have to keep this trademark to make millions of dollars, whatever that is. So I'm just saying there's that element, and obviously there's all kinds of gray area there, but where, you know, little variations of that. But that's one thing. There's this one person who I know that goes around championing that the place is out to get them. It's out to get them. Like, no, Warner Brothers is out to get you, man. Like, you know, Fox News or whoever is out to get you because you're constantly ripping them off. And then there's people like, you know, if you've been around it long enough, there's going to be little fights, and I don't like the way they do this, or they told me this. I have a zero tolerance policy, right? Personally on my channel, as soon as somebody's weird, gone. Like, I have way too many people to deal with. I don't want weird people around me. I don't want weird conversations around me. Like, they get weird, gone, right? That pisses people off. And the people I piss off every once in a while, depending on how ornery they are or how offended they are that I pissed them off like that, they'll come after you for a while, right? Until you figure out that it doesn't bother you or that they can't do nothing to you. But there's those people that are going to start wailing on each other. And here's the thing, when they'll be like, hey, buddy, hey, brother, hey, best friend, like, I'm helping you out. They give you $25, they give you $100, they give you, you know, they give you links, they join your shows, you know, they're in there, they're doing something that they feel is contributing to whatever's going on. And then you slight them, and then they're like, oh, now I've got something against this person. And it's just the way we are as humans, right? It's just the nature of things. Sort of like if somebody was buying drinks at the bar and then somebody said, hey, your team sucks. And then they're like, man, I've been buying you drinks and I hate you now. You know what I mean? It's just it's that swing. And that's what happens is people go, well, now I don't like that guy, and I don't like anything he's ever done, and everything he does is actually a scam, and it's actually working against us. So that I'm actually justified to report this channel every time he does something. So now we got people who are technically on our side and were brothers at one time and are like dinking each other. And I'm not saying that happens all the time. I'm just saying that happens. And on a system with 1 million viewers, you give the system a break. Like, they really don't have time to put people on anything other than the weirdest stuff. And I certainly can tell you from working at AOL and Microsoft in the past, the weirdest stuff is kids threatening each other and for real, and kids committing suicide for real. And they do not care about our bickering or whether or not we're doing. And when people get confused about what they think is smelting, look at dye, right? Dye, D-I-E. I'm going to get a reloading dye. Clover will tell you this day and night until he gets blue in the face. I'm going to use a reloading dye. Well, guess what? I'm going to go there and die, kill you and die, right? Like, go there and die. Like, we're treading all over that. People get into these chats, these live conversations, and every single thing we do is closed captioned. That means the computers are reading what we're doing. They're tagging with words. People get in there and go, blah, 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 stuff you shouldn't be saying in public, literally. Like, you wouldn't have these conversations in the grocery store, but here we are saying it in our chats. And then we go, oh, we're getting dinged. We don't get any coverage. Nobody comes to watch our chats. But here, let's have a conversation for like 3 hours live that we wouldn't have in church. We're not going to have that conversation in front of the police station. We're not having that conversation with our parents, with our children. And that's the thing, is people don't pay attention to these are just giant machines, and we have consequences for our behavior. Now, if you want, and you want to run a channel well, go watch Clover. He knows how to keep his public side public. And if he wants to, he doesn't really have political conversations, but I suspect if he did, he'd go have them on like a alley like Discord where nobody pays attention to what's happening in there. It's like the vile scum of the internet or whatever, how they would say in Star Wars. So that's just, I'm throwing that out there. I'm not defending YouTube. They are jerks. And because of the giant, flip-flop of the logarithms or whatever, we are going to get dinked all the time. And I can tell you, I'm not complaining. I got 169,000 subs and I don't get no reach. I don't care. I reach people like you guys, individuals, right? Legitimate, honest, authentic conversations. And YouTube gives us that for nothing. I mean, we're paying StreamYard a couple of bucks for the ability to put stuff up on the screen, and they're Canadian, so I'll give them $25 a month. But YouTube is giving us a heck of a lot of stuff for nothing. When people want to get mad, I say, if the range was telling you to quit shooting with the muzzle brake on, would you go, oh, the range is out to get me and they hate guns? Or would you take your muzzle brake off? So that's all we got to do is think of these things as tools sometimes. And if you're getting dinked, maybe try retitling all your videos to not say reloading die and to say reloading fixtures and see what happens. And I'm not saying that's a magic cure. I'm just saying that's the kind of little stuff that can add up. And maybe don't have conversations about things we wouldn't talk about at a grocery store. Because I know people are like, I'll say whatever I want at church. Well, I'm not going to get into that. But let's just say, like, if you don't want to cause a scene at a grocery store or at Walmart, like, have those kind of conversations and have your other stuff off air. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if off air chats are listened to, but I got too many live hours to ever recover my channel. But that's my 2 cents on it. Or maybe that was $20. That's very much.
So, Mr. G Webs, I tried to give a little summation about what Every Second Matters is and why we do it every month. You want to kind of give the history and tradition about Every Second Matters and how it came about for people that may not understand why we do this?
Well, like I said, I'll be on YouTube a lot, chatting like this in conversations where pretty much constantly there was somebody that had a room open. We would just leave the room open and walk away, and we would just have these conversations all the time. Groups of people would show up, and I don't know, dozens and dozens of people showed up on the regular and participated. And I don't know how many people watched because these were public, right? And, I don't know. I don't remember what the numbers were back then. I never really paid attention. It might have been hundreds of people watching the shows. What really mattered is that, dozens of real people were showing up from all over. We were mixing hunters and every once in a while a competition shooter, people that owned gun shops, people that just, were interested, new to guns. There was every once in a while a youngin' who would come along and be, asking the questions or two. And then, sometimes kids are more willing to participate than, I don't know, every once in a while there'd be a kid even. I mean, kid like 18-year-old, just buying their first rifle. And then eventually, they'd be like, hey, we're turning 21, we're getting our first pistol type of thing. We still see that once in a while in the chats. So that was happening. And then Obama came along and goes, hey, we're going to throw 23 executive actions at you in January of 2013. And without any campaign or newsletter or TV commercial or anything, nothing really happened. And that was because pretty much everybody just immediately started calling and using the process, using the system, right? I mean, there was no thing that happened. It was ineffective. He wanted to do stuff. He called his shot and then nothing happened. He was able to sneak a couple of jabs in, but that was it. And in somewhere around October, we started to realize that nothing had happened and they were sneaking things in on like a Friday here and there. And I think we were kind of gloating about it and feeling good about ourselves, and kind of at the same time, a lot of 2A going on back then. So we were wondering what did it, why did it happen? And then we started having conversations about, well, it sucks that this happened because it didn't get archived. There was no thing that happened. I'm kind of exaggerating or smushing a bunch of 3-hour conversations together. Or even more. I mean, I'm really talking about months of evolution of the conversations that, we talk about having rallies. We would organize rallies at the state level, or actually a lot of people online were actually creating them because the national level organizations, they still don't like rallies. They'll attend a rally if somebody else makes it, but they don't like rallies. They think it's a black eye if you create a rally and nobody shows up. So a bunch of people didn't care and did rallies, and they were minor, but whatever. There was that sense in the air of like, you have something you can do. And like I say, that was kind of dissipating by the end of 2013. And we were really active in these chats. I mean, right now, I would say it's about a third throttle. Somebody who's out there that's been around that long, let me know if I'm crazy, but I'd say we're about a third of the pace, amount of people and the number of chats and stuff that it used to be. And I don't know if it was just new or if it was just hot or something. There's fewer social platforms back then or something, or maybe the people just dissipated off into other chats that are out there. There's like lots of communities out there now. There was fewer of them back then. But for whatever reason, we had a lot of people paying attention to this stuff, and we would constantly have these conversations, and we'd kind of thrown around doing something. So it ended up, I guess I'm going on and on. It ended up coming down to, let's do something once a month so that the momentum doesn't go away, and that way we stay in touch and we have something where if we need us, we remember what we did before, sort of like, you know, the VFW. Like we remember what we had to do, and if we ever need to do it again, at least we're there for each other, kind of thing. And the idea was to get together, and well, I guess eventually it turned into getting together on the second day of the month. But we didn't want to make it like that you have to do this, or there was you do this, or you know, in order to stay involved, you have to do this much stuff. Instead, we modeled it after organizations that had no structure at all, that just said, if you want to be it, you're it. You know, if you consider, like, I don't know, Mothers Against Drunk Driving might have been one like that, or Pink Pistols is the one that was in the gun community that we knew. That was just, if you want to be in it, you're in it. If you say you're in it, you're in it. And if you look like a jerk in it, then everybody's going to hate you. But you know, there's no structure. There's nothing to join, and that way, it was no obligation to it, and it wasn't going to turn into a popularity contest, or nobody was going to own it. And that was the main thing, because maybe 25 people were all involved in the beginning, and these were people that had all done stuff. And we also had a bit of a frustration with the national level organizations, because the tendency is usually, well, let's make an organization to solve this, or let's make a campaign to solve this, instead of let's empower people to solve it themselves, or let's just remember how we did it last time type of thing. So I think there was a little bit of that. Let's not have any kind of power structure or nothing to it. Let's just do it. And that's 2013. So however many years ago that was, 9 years ago now. It's you know, it's coming. I tried to put the YouTube channel and to include as many of the old shows as I can, but you know, channels get lost, or they take them down, or people take their videos down. They change direction. I'm into motorcycles now, so I took all my gun videos down. That kind of thing happens. But the ones that are still there that I can find, I've tagged over on the channel. So that's one way to kind of see what had happened. And then, like, you are doing stuff like this. So, you know, we'll do a chat later on today where I tried to give the people who go to the gun rights policy conference and that would normally be hanging out on like a Friday night or a Saturday night together at the gun rights policy conference, I try to give them a room where they can get together informally without a topic and without a pressure to sell themselves or give us their insight on the news of the day. But I have never really kicked that off. I just keep sending out invites. We end up having some pretty good conversations in fits and starts, but everybody's welcome to do what they want. And there are some patches and stuff that over the years we've made. Those are all at a place called the Beacon Group here in Tucson that I found out about from a place in the industry. And they employ people that are differently abled, but they employ them. They give them jobs. They show up, they take they take it seriously. They're independent, and this place lets them do all kinds of jobs and stuff, or gives them all kinds of jobs to do, I guess I should say. And originally, when we first dropped them off, they assembled them into packages with the envelopes and stuff. But now, whenever an order comes in, they just fulfill the order. So basically, when you buy a patch, it's staying there. The patches were paid for by campaigns and friends, and the when you buy a patch, I'm running out, so I have to get over there, and they moved because of the stress in the last couple of years, and they're real worried about that. So I didn't try getting over there to give them the rest of the inventory I have, but I need to give them whatever inventory I have, which is just a few dozen, if I even have dozens of them left. And there's a couple of colors that are gone. But anyway, we do have the patches, and some people, we put them on or take pictures with them and stuff like that. Most of the people have the patches from the campaigns where they were created back in like 2016. Anyway, that's the long, short story. Thanks.
Thank you for giving us the history of it and how we can keep the tradition alive and going. And
create the new one, evolve it,
yes.
Whatever's next. Be cool to see. Like, I always wanted to see some kind of graphic novel or music or something, or maybe even a video game. There's got to be video game developers that trying to practice. I mean, half the stuff I built on the internet was me practicing for some client. I just had to practice. I might as well build something for guns, right? So there's got to be that for app developers and stuff like that. So do something, bring people together.
I know we do have some um, rappers that are singing about the Second Amendment.
Oh no,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you make a good point. That I didn't even think about that. And then there's Five Finger Death Punch or something, and then there must be
Yeah.
something country, I guess. I think of
Well,
more like YouTubers who are individuals, but you're right. The Marine rapper guy is basically just a dude.
you have Bryson Gray. You have
Yeah,
Tyson James.
no idea
You
who that is.
have Fujiato Blow.
No, you're just saying things. I have no idea who that is.
And these guys all do more conservative rap, Christian rap, and 2A rap. Um, so um, Tyson James, Fujiato Blow, and Bryson Gray did a song called 2A, and they talk about wherever I go, my 2A goes. So if I
Really,
wouldn't,
that's on YouTube or something. And how old is
yeah,
it?
like about a year or two old,
Oh shit, yeah, that's cool. I didn't know
and
about that at all.
they keep putting out, um, they keep putting out a lot of controversial music that people, depending on what your political beliefs are and stuff, may not always agree with what they're putting out. Um, I do like a lot of their stuff, so um, they are really really good stuff.
I'm thinking a cat, maybe. The Tactical Fud. Does he have a cat?
Maybe.
That was definitely strange. I hope it's
But
a
no.
cat, not what Foss said.
I know I have cats.
There was somebody not too long ago. I don't know if he's 2A or nothing, but had some sort of a rap that was, I don't know if it's called rap anymore. I don't know. There's maybe some other version of it now or something, but it was, what's going on? Oh, my computer's being weird. I can't remember. I guess that's super vague, but it was going around to where I seen it. So it must have, it went around all the gun channels, and it was kind of like a slow Eminem, I guess. He was basically just saying stuff, and there was music going on behind him. I mean, I wouldn't call it all that. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like you put a heck of a. I mean, it's just Eminem slow, which is anybody can do that, right? But anyway, I don't know if that's enough of a description, but it was pretty good. Like New York is saying the lyrics or whatever, and the music isn't that good, but that's how this one was. Like the lyrics were really interesting, like really, yeah, I don't know, like freedom type of thing, like patriot or patriotic. All right, I guess I'm not doing a good job describing it.
I think I know who you're talking about. He has a bunch of tattoos on his face.
I mean, I think he did, but I
Yeah.
think a bunch of them do.
Well, yeah, but
He was
can't
standing
think
in
of
front
his
of a
name.
bunch. I can tell you this: he was standing standing in front of a bunch of TVs, and he was screaming at them like an old '80s.
You're talking about Tom McDonald,
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
and yeah, he
He's
does
like
a lot of rap, rock kind of music, and
Yeah, the only thing that changes are the lyrics. They all sound the same. All the songs. But I get you. There's a lot of people that like him because of that.
And that's what happened. I listened to that. I went over and listened to his YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh, this is like the same thing over and over. So that's not my thing. I like that song, but next, I'm 50. I don't need to find new stuff to listen to. I got plenty of stuff to listen to.
so I threw a link in the side chat to the song from Tyson James and everybody that on the 2A. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. 223 DMR says Tyson James American Muscle is a good one. Yes. There's a lot of
Those are
good
about
songs.
done?
Yeah, they're all.
All right, I need to put up a list somewhere so that I can get or put up a question somewhere or something. You can't really do a poll, I guess. I need to put just a thread somewhere where I can ask everybody to put the gun-related songs in there, because I've never heard any of these. I would think American Muscle would be about cars or something.
Yep. That would be a you could easily mistake that as talking about the 60s muscles car, and Tactical Fud says Kid Rock, We the People is good. So I know there's a lot of them that have some, and then if you go back into the early 90s with gangster rap, they were always talking about using their firearms for negative. And this is the songs like that I've been promoting are the positive side, talking about having them for self-protection and defending your family, defending your country. So I know Patriot in the Dark just threw a link up. I'm not sure exactly what that link is for. So have a good weekend, Rob.
It's a link to a song on Alaskan Ballistics channel.
So actually, I'm going to pull up that song that I posted. I'll play a few seconds of it so I don't get a copyright claim, but
yeah, there is no time limit on for copyright claims. There's bands, the big bands that have hit people just for saying their name.
yeah, but the thing is you've got fair use.
Fair use doesn't apply on
You
YouTube.
get dinged for saying somebody's name, like just saying Metallica, or because you say like Metallica sucks.
Yeah, they were talking about forget who it was. It was like kind of the 70s rock band.
I'm okay with Metallica, by the way. I was just using that as an example.
But yeah, like that.
I mean, I don't like the part about them being weird to fans, but whatever. I separate all that.
But fair use applies to the court, not on YouTube.
I know
And that's the thing. That's one of those things too. Like, I'm sure that, one of the reasons I don't complain too much is that I hork stuff for the show, or I'll watch stuff, and I don't know. I don't even go into those things where you go into where everybody complains about your stuff, because there's like there must be some kind of industry. I don't even say small industry. I think it's just a plain old industry to go in and claim people's videos are copyrighted. There's make like 2 cents on your video, and then they make your 2 cents, and then if they do that enough times, they make $20.
The record labels have people that like Sony and whatnot. They have people that are paid just to do copyright claims because they make so much money off it.
Oh, I know. I've been copyrighted a couple times, and I've always argued fair use.
Oh, it's probably.
And YouTube has agreed, and so has whoever put the copyright on. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, you followed the fair use law. So
They probably tell, like, if somebody's got rights to a song, they can probably franchise out people to go get people, right? Like, hey, I'll take, everybody in this sector for, I'll give you 10% of wherever I bring in, claiming off of them, and then they, like a franchise for like restaurants or something, except give it to lawyers or whoever to go collect copyright claims. Except they probably don't have to be lawyers, right? They just have to be people willing to go out and listen to stuff or set up some
Yeah,
kind of.
because there's people that will copyright claim stuff that isn't theirs. That's what happened to Gizzard Gary. They were it was like a bar or something like that in England kept copyright claiming the national anthem.
yeah,
Oh.
it was. I think that was a soccer club, a football club over there was saying that they were. Which, if you go by just the music, again, it comes down to the national anthem and what's it, God Save the Queen, have the same beat.
So you're telling me on the 4th of July, some pub in England is copyrighting the what do you call it, the national anthem off and claiming that off of Gizzard? I say we go over to England. Who's with me?
I'm just saying, didn't England learn the first time when they tried coming to us?
We're not coming back until we got Gizzards. It's like $14 or whatever it is.
Well, then we got to make sure we include all of our gas, and
here's the perfect thing. Just get on one of them private planes, go into some kind of climate controlled situation, and it's free. You just fly over on one of them planes. They don't even know who's in it.
So, like I said, I'm going to play a couple seconds of this. If I get copyright, I don't care. It's a good thing.
God-hating, baby-killing left wants to let people out of jail, let people loot, let people riot, let people burn down buildings, and they want to take my gun? What the? My mood say keep the two-way, don't snooze. This could go two ways, what to do? You say it's about race, boo-hoo, high-speed chase, now you catch a case like a fool, huh? Now you wanna come and take my rights? You gotta be dumb, can't take my light. I'ma set it right, can't take my fight. And I'ma be with Christ if you take my life, boom, boom. With the truth I'm coming with. We living in the last days, I'm loving it. I'ma be the one I'm 100 for the fun of it. Waiting for us coming till then, here's another hit. Till then, lay low. I ain't gonna move till God say so. Get the green light, I'm not afraid, bro. Stay strapped and it won't sell it for a peso, man.
So
I learned how to make that hat red like that in a video from watching a tutorial the other day.
So
I was about to play with that this weekend.
that is Tyson James doing 2A. There is a link in the chat, so if you guys want to hear the full version, it's out there.
It ain't my type of thing, but that's cool. Glad there's people doing stuff that's 2A, focused on 2A.
Okay, so I've got the wrong ones. It's My Country 'Tis God Save the Queen is not the same as our national anthem. It's My Country 'Tis of Thee. So, sorry. Patriot says, I think G was playing that in his van when he pulled in my driveway. I could see G Webs bumping that.
I have thought about, since I have a van, like getting giant speakers in it, but then I'm like, what am I going to need giant speakers in there for? Eventually, I won't be able to hear, so I will need them, but it's just a waste of space. Plus, I need like an amp and stuff.
Well, see, the nice thing is if you had giant, like 18-inch subs in the back of the van, with a couple amps, then when you roll up to like a gun rally or something like that, you could plug a mic.
Definitely.
You
Yep.
could plug a mic in and start, running your own.
On a van, you can put them in the back doors, huh? And then open the back doors, and now they're blasting out the back. Is that a thing? I know I do have windows in the back. I would get doors without windows in them. Just make the doors speakers.
Or you could just build a couple towers that went from the ceiling to the floor that just kind of sat in there, vertically, and then when you open the doors,
This is my van that I have no room in. Might as well have bought a Toyota because it's all full speakers.
What G-Webs is just talking about, that's actually getting really popular now. The last couple import face-offs and stuff I've been to, they're putting the stereos so they do that when the hatch opens or the back doors,
Nice.
and all the speakers facing
Now-
out so they can have like block parties and things like that.
Yeah, I didn't invent that. That was from like the Lowrider magazines when I was a kid or whatever. I must
Yeah.
have seen that. I'm sure it's not like I came up with that, but that's probably what, I would think the way to do it. Because, yeah, if you're going to put speakers in the back of a van, I don't need to hear the radio that loud, and I don't care about going down the road. But, yeah, when you get to somewhere, that'd be pretty cool. And I'm sure nowadays there's some Bluetooth thing, so people just walk up and either hook their phone or some sort of whatever, if you're podcasting or whatever, you call the what do they call that anymore? The board?
a mixer or a soundboard.
Yeah, like if they're recording something or if they have microphones, they'll just hook that up like the PA or whatever. But I wouldn't do that. I don't have that kind of thing right now. I'll take an 808 though. If somebody wants to send me one, play with that. I got one for $7 sitting right here. All right, well, this turned it into a van chat on Sunday early morning. So let's go to the second matters or whatever, chatting about the second. Speaking of going to places, though, going to rallies or anything, Barbecue keeps talking about one in Pennsylvania. I know there's one in Michigan. The DC Project is having one in September. But with everything going on, I don't know if anybody's got the ambition or inclination even to plan state rallies or what they would do them for or against. I mean, there's so many things to do them for and against, and then some states are just getting thrashed right now.
I've been trying to keep up with any rallies or whatever that's going on in Oregon or Washington, and I keep hounding off trying to find out what's if they're going to be doing any, especially with some upcoming anti-2A ballot proposals that are going to be on the ballot this year. So trying to figure out if we're going to get do some rallies or whatever. Haven't really heard anything, so I might try to get to putting one together. Not sure, what organizations or whatever I could reach out to get a lot of help.
This year, I don't think I would try. I don't know, unless there's something that you need one for. I would say you want. I don't know with the organizations if they're, you know what I mean, with all the stuff that's happening up there. I don't know what they actually had to do or did with the magazine thing, for example. But if they were busy though, they would. The last thing on their mind is a rally. They're not going to be like, oh hell yeah, let's just throw another thing on the pile. But if you contact them and they're like, oh yeah, we were thinking about having a rally, and you contact the next one and they're thinking the same thing, and then you're like, oh well, why don't we just have it on the same day? And then you get two organizations. So I guess it's worth calling around. But it just seems like something that you'd have to kind of start pointing at 2023, and then start telling people, hey, there's this rally in 2023. Start building your plans for 23 around it, as opposed to, hey, we got a couple of months left to figure it out, plan it, promote it, and execute it. And then instead of saying I'm going to do it on this day for this reason, we have to do it on this day because it's the only day available. And then the permits part of it is the other thing. Sometimes you have to get permits out ahead of time. But it's probably worth calling around. And then if it turns out that one of them's like, oh, we're about to have one, then all you got to do is help them.
I know Mr. Chris is about to bail out because he's got to get with the wife. So,
Yep, she's having her big annual. She has a big party every year on the 4th, and I got a ton of stuff still to help her with. So,
I don't have fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, G. Thanks to Side Chat and Foss, G-Webs. Always great seeing you guys. And I'm sure I'll catch you in a chat here soon. So I'm going to start working on the Wednesday night stuff, and I'll get that sent out to UG and UG Web. So I appreciate it, guys. Everybody have a great Independence Day, and I'll talk to everyone later.
yep, enjoy. So, I see Gizzard's out in the side chat. I don't know if he wants to jump in on this discussion or not, but if he does, I can definitely email him a link. So, with the SCOTUS ruling, we kind of talked about this earlier, G-Webs. Do you see the path to doing away with the NFA based on their ruling in the Braun case? Mr. G-Webs?
Oh, I've been sitting here talking. I said a bunch of good stuff, so no. I was saying I don't really know. I don't pay attention enough to know like all the nuances and details or whatever of these things. So I like to look at the 30,000 foot view and know, that there's 3 branches and that this is something that's going on in this branch, but I depend on other people to pay attention to the specifics. There's some people that really dig this, or they just, for whatever reason, know this, or, they're scholars or researchers or they're lawyers or something that are involved in it. And then hopefully somebody's interviewing them, right? So I try to watch like that Place the Reload and Crump sometimes, and then just on Instagram, a whole bunch of channels to see if somebody's talking about an interview somewhere, and try to get at least point to that, because I don't really try to absorb it all because there's too many moving pieces. Because whatever it does, it's like one of them big puzzle games with one piece missing and a whole bunch of things everything shuffles around constantly. There's always one piece missing. So they move this portion over. Now we have a hole. Something's going to fill in that hole, and that's going to have a consequence. And then something over here is going to move. So, we're already seeing states acting in both ways, and that's going to have, So I don't try to get into all of that. I leave that to the people that are doing it, and then try to find the most effective summary of that. And I'm thinking the armed lawyers and that Washington lawyer up by you are probably the two that are the best at just getting it out without selling you a cup of coffee or Red Dot or whatever.
Yeah, so I was listening to Washington Gun Law, and when he was talking about it, and yeah, he was kind of mentioning how with the way they worded the ruling, there's not really any anti-2A bill or law that could stand muster against the way they rule it if it's actually challenged correctly. So again, it comes down to hiring the right attorneys and getting it, challenged and fought correctly. So I was kind of really, really positive about hearing, and kind of looking into that kind of stuff, because, I tend to think there's two major anti-gun laws that I can throw out right now that I think would be great to see removed, which would be the Brady Bill and then the NFA. I think we all can agree that the NFA needs to go. And DJ's right. The 9th is probably going to be the circuit that's going to put out the most pro 2A stuff, because they already had 3 that were sitting in front of them, and they just vacated all the decisions in those 3 cases and kicked it back down. So they should go back in front of St. Benitez again, and he'll re-rule the same way, that they're unconstitutional. And if California then challenges it, it's going to go back in front of SCOTUS, and SCOTUS is, or back in front of the 9th, and the 9th on full en banc would have to then say, guess what? He's absolutely correct. So, because based on strict scrutiny, text, or tradition, not a single one of those stands up, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys have a differing opinion that there's a possibility that they could.
Look what happened with Heller. Like, Heller was a big deal, first time ever, and then it had consequences, and then we had to have Miller. And then Miller justified, so this, what's the word, like, focused it, or, made it more clear. And then we're done. Okay, good to go. And then Ezell. All right, we're done. Now we had 3 court cases on this. We've threshed it all out. Nope, Ezell 2. Right? So what, 2000, I don't remember all the dates anymore. 11, 15, 18, 17, something like that in those orders, or something like that. And then now we have this one in 23. So I don't think anything's going to happen immediately. And then that judge you're talking about, that's one of those ripples I'm talking about. And like, things change. So I don't know. I'm not saying they are going to change, but I'm saying it's a possibility for things to change. So when we look at these things, we have a tendency to look at them from the way they've gone. But the judges and everything, get older. They get more influence from the world and circumstances and stuff. So, I like to think at least that even if a judge is somehow in there forever and they're paying attention and they see that uh, that there's all these, let's call them loose laws, at least according to their perspective, loose laws, like lack of laws, let's say. And then it doesn't matter if it's even one judge, just judges in general who are apprehensive about the concept of lack of laws because they're judges and all they deal with is laws, right? So the lack of laws is alien to them. So of course they're going to be skeptical that anyone could rule themselves without laws or be nice to each other without laws making us be nice to each other. And then, we have 25 states with constitutional carry, which is effectively lack of regulation on carrying. And there's no issue, right? Like, and there's no negative consequences of that. As we start to see the positive consequences get recorded more and figured out and understood more, even those judges that are apprehensive, I think, are going to have at least get neutral, potential. I'm not going to say they are, but they're going to have the potential to get neutral. And that's, I call that, a ripple. Like now that it's there, it kind of establishes stuff, and a couple of states are going to go with it. And then those states, those judges in the states that are, don't want to go that way are going to have less and less justification to have their position. And that's what I guess I'm leaving time to see that happen, because I don't think anything happens quickly. Our system's designed to have it happen slowly so that no one can just run around and do what they want. But I don't know. You like say, I guess I'm just throwing my uneducated 2 cents because I don't pay attention at all. You're paying the way you're talking about it. You're more familiar with the judges or whatever. That judge you're talking about who's so ornery on the 9th, what's his, in the big picture, what's his career look like? How much longer is he going to be sitting there?
I could see him being on there for another 15, 20 years. He's still a young guy,
No, I don't know, because that's interesting. Because I'm assuming, because I think old guys only got a couple years left. So
yeah, I know. I want to say he's maybe in his 50s.
Where do they get appointed by presidents or Congress or somebody?
Yeah. So, on the 9th, those are, any of those district circuits, so 1st through the 9th, those are all appointed, but if there's openings by presidents. So when Trump was in, I think he appointed 4 judges to the 9th. And one was actually a real shock. He was a guy out of Seattle. And he is a real constitutionalist. So he was kind of a shock to hear about. And I'm drawing a blank on his name. So I have a poll over on the YouTube side. We've got 45 votes in on it. It says, do you think there is a path to overturn anti-2A? And 56% say yes, 11% say no, 24% is a possibility, and 9% say, come on, man. So I'm going to leave that going for a little bit longer. And there is a link to G-Web's Every Second Matters live stream that will be going on at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully you guys will make it to that. I'm gonna try pulling up a list of the 9th Circuit judges.
Locked and Loaded is live right now. They got 21 people watching over there. We should do a chat battle. Except they're too scared. They would want to stop playing their video game to have. Locked and Loaded is live right now. They got 20. They wouldn't want to stop playing their video games to do a tactical quiz chat battle. I bet. All right, I'm looking at. Oh, where's your poll at? Did you end it already?
No, it should still be. It might be covered by the pinned message. So you might have to dismiss the pinned message to have the poll
Oh, look at that.
show up.
That's exactly what had to happen. I think the path is education. So I think that I've been saying this for a while, but I think it's a case that the people that have gone the route of educating the representatives to their situation, educating them to their plight, I guess, like educating the politicians that there's negative consequences to these laws that they pass that affect people that they don't intend to. There's a word for that, and I forget what the actual good term for that is. And
Unintended consequences.
no, that's what I say, but they say a better one. There's a new one for that. It's the one that Jake from Walk Talk America says all the time, and it sounds way better because he's a doctor or whatever. It sounds like a doctor word. I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it. But basically that you know, there's people that get hurt by these, and they should be weighing that when they're making these things instead of the knee jerk. And I mean, it's not that the point is so valid. It's the point is that the valid point is coming from people who are different than the demographic that gun owners have been intentionally marginalized. You know, they've had this caricature of Elmer Fudd or whatever as all gun owners, or fill in the blank, some kind of weird thing, right? Violent, ugly, mean, angry, right? That kind of stuff. They try to, you know, been working hard to make us into idiots and jerks. And when they have someone who's a counter in every way to the people that Bloomberg took away from one of the largest multinational companies working in marketing and said, we got a better job for you over here. Act like you're grassroots and get a bunch of moms to do your bidding. Right? This is literally moms that just show up and yell, blah, 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 blah. And here's the deal. Blah, blah. I mean, watch these testimonials. I've only watched hours and hours of them. They show up and they'll go, here's a bunch of horrible things that have happened. Let me list them all. And then demand that only the police have guns. And how many times can a politician hear that? They must go numb because that side doesn't really change too often. The only thing that's different is the horrible circumstances to whatever crime or tragedy, or not tragedy, usually it's an atrocity, an intended thing, right? Tragedy tends to imply like hurricane or something that happens, but an atrocity is something that somebody causes intentionally, right? They didn't grab a gasoline because that wouldn't make the news. They didn't grab dynamite. They grabbed the things they grabbed. And then these atrocities or whatever are described to these politicians, and they're probably not demons. So they, you know, their souls are ripped apart by hearing about this stuff. And then they're told by their people, like, tell your politicians the story and then demand that only the police have guns. So the politician's like, oh man, that's horrible. Let's try to make it so that only the police have guns. And those other people are assholes anyway, right? Why would they want kids to have guns anyway? They're horrible people. But then think of all the ladies. I try to talk about them all the time, right? Think of all those ladies going in and changing the narrative. So they're educating that gun owners aren't all like this or whatever. But then they walk away. When the ladies from the DC Project walk away, they go, here's our contact information. Here's our business card. If somebody tries pulling some BS on you, here's the number to call. And we'll tell you from our perspective as a competition shooter, as an ex-cop, as a mom, as a daughter, as a concerned person in the community, as someone who's a person in an industry, right? Like, you know, there's representatives of everything. And I'm just using the DC Project as a example because they specifically go to the representatives, but there's other organizations that are just as much advocates, just as much focused on our rights, and just as much focused on being ambassadors and representatives for the ownership of guns, right? The individual freedom to own guns. So that means think of the army of moms and female shooters and daughters and kids going to schools on scholarships and stuff, and hopefully hunters now that there's things like girls who, what is it? Girls Who Shoot or something like that, the hunting organization for ladies. Like all these new organizations that started since 15 have activism as a core part of their thing. So when they're going to these representatives, they're educating them by being there. Like right away, they show them like, hey, we're a whole bunch of diverse people living all around the country doing our thing. Leave us alone. And here's our contact information. So if anybody tries to, put the wool over your eyes, you got a number to call. And in a world where we got border, international, health, economy, is there anything that isn't crazy right now? Gas prices, come on, man. I mean, food. Is there anything, the pipelines or whatever, every single thing they want a distraction from. And they literally spent his career attacking guns. And you would think that if he had as much power as some people would like to suggest, that he would just take it all. He would just be like, goodbye, Second Amendment. I mean, they're not even pulling their punches when they talk about that kind of stuff in the campaign or nothing. And what are they able to do? Like some of these states are making it illegal to make your Glock full auto. So they're, what's that called? Like they're just what's the word? Like saying the NFA again. They're just putting NFA restrictions on their state again, because I'm sure their state already has one. So they're effectively getting up and just saying nothing. In 2022, when it's like 3 clicks away, anybody who wants to know anything can go click, click. Is this real? Like click, click. Is this person for real, or is this just saying words? So I think that, I guess I'm rambling, but the way that we the path to overturning this stuff is already happening. And I think the only thing that's stopping us from having the NFA is a little bit of time, some momentum, because the stuff that they're pushing out there is going to fall flat. And what are they going to do when they take their old brittle paper files and blow the dust off of them and tell their people, run with this stuff? It never worked before, but we don't have time to come up with new stuff, and we don't think new stuff will work. So we don't want to waste anything new on them right now. We just need something to distract, right? The war or whatever was not doing well. Throw this out there. And all that stuff just fizzled. It just sat there like, and then it went down from all that bluster and everything they had, every single thing they threw at it. And it went down to being mean to 18-year-olds and somehow justifying it by saying 18-year-old brains are mush, which how's that going to stand in a world where we've got a whole bunch of 18-year-olds about to start voting and stuff? It's like the dumbest thing they could have possibly done for their careers. But then, the other things they did are heinous, but, they're not assault weapons ban. They're not everything they wanted. So that's all I'm saying is the path to that is already on. And it just takes some time for people to figure out, oh yeah, we didn't get pummeled. We didn't even get a black eye. Like we literally got maybe a kind of a solid gut punch, and we might get a cramp from that, but we can definitely just by reflex, if we were awesome, we would just by reflex knock gun control out of the political realm. Just by, imagine if everybody that was even involved gave $1 to the ladies of the DC project. Those ladies could just hang out in DC for the rest of the year, and there would be no more gun control. If they were just hanging out there, Ultimate Resources, do what they want. I mean, that's dreaming, but I think we're that close. We just need to let the stew that's with all these ingredients and all the potential we've got, just let that stuff cook, because they're throwing everything they got at us, and that's just letting all the arguments get discussed. These ladies have been, and I'm just using them as an example of a lot of organizations and projects, a lot of conversations have been made and had But the problem is you can't bring them up because nobody wants to talk about guns. The only time they want to talk about guns is as a reaction to something. So now that there's court decisions, which are a reason to talk about guns that have nothing to do with what do you call it, a tragedy or an atrocity, then that's an opportunity for us. We're about to have the bump stock. They're about to be able to cheer and be, to say how great it is that they're about to trample on people's rights. And it's an opportunity for us to, again, educate. And if we could send the right people to bother the politicians to where they're like, we got rid of the NRA and all we did is cut the old shell off of this thing. And now we let loose all of its babies, right? Like all we did is crush the old husk. And I mean, I'm using a bad example because now we're a bunch of bugs, but you know what I mean? Like they got rid of the NRA and all they did is empower all the individuals that had basically let the NRA go on its own anyway. You know what I mean? So I think we got the path to 2A. It's ours to lose. Is that the way I say it? I'm not saying it's a given, but we're on that path. It's right in front of us. All we got to do is look up. Everything they're doing is to distract us from realizing that we're literally on the path, that we could just cheer on those ladies and we'd be done. We wouldn't even have an NFA.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right, you know, the more and more they go after the NRA and the NRA kind of goes to the background, more and more, you know, of the individuals, you know, the DC Project, what's it, Girls with Guns or something?
Girl and a gun.
Yeah, Girl and a Gun.
Yeah.
And then you've got, you know, FPC and that are all sending people to DC. And then you've got like Chris Chang, who's going and testifying in front of Congress. You know, so they can't. We're starting to hit him with more of a 1-2 punch, and getting that third punch in there also. You know,
maybe
so
that's part of it, is that we got these punches and we're not used to that. We have to get the cadence down. We got to get the rhythm. We got to get used to working with each other. Like, okay, I'm done tagging each other in. Is that the way you say it?
Mm-hmm. You know, we got to get the combos flowing a lot more and working together. I would really
look at Foss over here, just laying on a couch. We're all trying to get 2-8 up.
You know, we've got like Pink Pistol. If we brought in more, like had Pink Pistol show up and start testifying also, you think what DC is doing, what Girl and a Gun's doing, and like what Chris Chang's doing, and Chris Chang is part of Pink Pistol, but a lot of when he's testifying, he's not going and, you know, like being a face of Pink Pistol. And for people who don't know what the Pink Pistol is, that's your like LGBT community advocacy program. And so if we got these guys out there in mainstream and more people were finding out about them, think about how many of those, you know, LGBT people that might go, wait, you mean that they're not against us? They actually welcome us into the 2A community?
Well, Pink Pistol's been around since 2000, and it didn't go around doing nothing, but at the same time, they've had giant advocates, like people that are crazy. What do you want to say? Like, not, what's the word? When you're not a recluse, what's the opposite of being a recluse? Like somebody that goes, oh, I can't think of the word. Somebody goes out in public all the time.
Yeah, like
Or like
gregarious.
no, that's just being generous, right, or something. I don't know, but anyway, but they'll definitely like the people that I'm familiar with that were Pink Pistols back in the day until Aaron took it over. Would be the first one to grab a microphone and get up on stage and have no problem being comfortable and like having. I mean, if you've never listened to some of the stuff Nikki from I think San Francisco has said, she has had some interesting perspectives on stuff. She's been an advocate for a long ass time, but like in San Francisco. So I mean, I'm just saying they have been around since 2000. So I don't know how big. I don't know if there's numbers how big a percentage the LGBT community is, but then they're a percentage of the main community, and then the gun owning members of their community is a subsection, right? And when you say LGBT or whatever, that's like all those are different, and I don't think they all hang out with each other. It's like saying whatever Asian Americans or something. That doesn't mean they know each other, like each other. It's just a characteristic that somebody wants to stick on them. But you know what I'm saying? So they just because they're the organizations there doesn't make anybody want to give a crap. It has to be more of a, well, I don't know. Obviously, it depends on everybody and individual. I was going to say it kind of needs to be on their end to want to go figure it out. But at the same time, you're right. They have to be there to have something that they can find, right? Something that they can get their information from. But I'm just saying it's been there. That it's I don't know how to gauge again how many potential LGBTQ gun owners there could be, so we know how many are on board. But I'm just saying whatever number that is, it's a subsection of a subsection. So I think instead of saying, hey, here's this subsection, come in, and here's another subsection, come on in, you just go, doors are open, anybody, come on in.
Yeah, and the reason why I brought up some of these was until like Foss and Chris Chang, I had zero knowledge of Pink Pistol. And that's only been the last like 2 years that I've even known anything about them.
Well, like I said, their whole thing had always been, if you want to be it, you're it. And then they had a couple of activists and they'd show up at parades, from what I understand. So if there was like a gay parade, there'd be like the Pink Pistols float or group or something at the parade, from what I understand. And then that's about all there was. So I don't know if there was anything to do unless you happen to be watching a parade and go, oh, look at that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you could be watching a newspaper and they could say in the newspaper, hey, there's a gay parade and there was people with Pink Pistols there. I think I heard about it from, we had said something like somebody typed in something like a Taurus, Sky or Taurus or somebody made a pink pistol, right? And somebody was typing it in and probably somebody was like, oh, I'm going to go by that name. Like, I'm going to go make a website. And they're like, oh, there's already a group. And then we're like, oh, look at that. And then, so I think that's probably the first time I came across it, but it was in a chat or something. And then it was moving on to find the gun that people were looking for or whatever. But anyway, I don't think they were out there like the NRA putting out marketing, having ad campaigns, budgets, memberships, and all that until you get to Blazing Sword. From what I understand, Blazing Sword was, okay, now let's start a thing, and as opposed to Pink Pistols, which just sits there, and if you want to be in it, you're in it, but nothing happens until somebody picks it up and flies the kite. Blazing Sword is the blimp. Like, let's put marketing out there. Let's get the word out. Let's get these. I think their focus was instructors to offer, I don't know if it was necessarily free, but just offer LGBT friendly instruction, right? Places where people could find a place locally or whatever, or find somebody to travel to get instruction if they're apprehensive about it or looking for some kind of a contact. And that was more like get the word out. And that's, and when was that? When did Florida thing happen? I don't remember. 15, 16? So anyway,
Yeah.
I think that would kind of line up that nobody heard anything about any of them unless you happened to look. I mean, they were there. I think there was a Pink Pistol website, but it was like, hey, we're a website and we don't really have an organization. So thanks for showing up. See ya. And I think that would have been until whenever Blazing Swords came along, or Blazing Sword came along. And then it was still another year or two before Aaron took both of them and put them together and then turned Pink Pistols into a thing, like an actual group that you can join and stuff. And that would have only been probably even 18 or something, and that happened. So I don't know when, again, you said in the last couple of years you became aware. I'll bet you that's when they first started even saying anything.
Yeah, it was probably 18, 19.
Or maybe I should say saying something outside of like a gay parade or whatever you're supposed to call it. LGBTQ. How to say gay parade? Or am I getting in trouble for saying it? LGBTQ parade?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're supposed to call it. Pride parade or
We used to
something.
call
I
them
think-
gay pride parade, so that's what I'm used to calling them.
Yeah, I think just Pride Parade is what you hear now.
Okay. Old.
So, I know we've kind of been all over on topics today. So, hopefully, the crowd has been interested, and I know Tara says also keeping on topic is important. The queer community is full of many viewpoints on many issue. Want to talk guns? Talk guns. Going off topic is a minefield, and it is. And she says, I am an instructor for Operation Blazing Sword. Yes, it is free. It's taking someone to the range, my guns, my ammo, and basic introduction to firearms safety, function, and use. So
everybody, the instructors volunteer basically effectively or offer that opportunity for anybody to want to take them up on it.
yeah, it's kind of like Tony Simon and his
Diversity shoot.
yes, the diversity shoots.
Yeah, well,
The
what
second-
his was like, I'm going to do it on Tuesday, or we're going to do it next month on Wednesday or whatever, like at a time and a place. I think the Blazing Swords is more like, here's a database or here's a list of all these instructors or a map or whatever, how it's listed. And then here you can contact them and then you make like an appointment sort of thing. Like you schedule a class as opposed to here's where this month's classes are. There might be that too, but it sounded like originally it was let's get instructors in contact with students quick.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like it's more like one-on-one and not more of a classroom kind of
At least
thing.
not scheduled seminars, but like, well, me and my friends want to show up. Yeah, no problem. But it's like not like every Tuesday, like Tony's thing, like once a month we're at this range, or we try to do it once a month at this range, or we have it 3 times a month at these ranges, kind of thing. And I don't want, as soon as I say that, there might be that happening. Obviously depends on the place, or maybe I don't know, but I got the impression when it first started, at least, it was everybody's paying attention all of a sudden in the community, right? Like, hey, what's going on? And then a bunch of instructors were like, hey, we want to make sure everybody knows that there's assistance for them out there. And then it was like, let's get that chocolate with that peanut butter.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any questions out in the crowd for us.
So why did you decide to do it at 7 a.m. instead of your normal time?
I'm gonna be working on my car, trying to fix the the bumper that I messed up when I accidentally rear-ended a car.
So your car's not very two-way to make you do stuff on every second matters. It's kind of messed up.
So
Car hates guns or something. It's like, I don't like carrying all that ammo around. It's screw attack.
I did score some free ammo yesterday. That was. I went to a little small gun shop over in Bandon, and unfortunately, he's going out of business because he's kind of being pushed that way by the governor and all the policies that they're putting into place and stuff. So after being there and talking with them and everything, and I bought a book. It was Guns of the Third Reich. So I'm going to be reading that book. And I picked up some primers and some stuff, and I had been looking at ammo, and he's like, "Are you looking at any certain thing?" And I was like, 45 Colt, but I don't see any." And he goes, "Oh, I've got one box." He goes, "But it's not all full. You can have it." I'm like, "Okay." So I thought that was kind of cool. So Tara says, many in the queer community do not feel safe or comfortable around most firearm instructors. They are more comfortable with a member of the community introducing them to firearms. And, that's, you can, kind of the same in certain cultures. They're probably going to feel more comfortable if they're being instructed by somebody who like speaks their language, because maybe English isn't always their first language, and so sometimes trying to communicate and ask questions, they don't want to sound like moronic or whatever, and so they revert back to their native language. And so trying to find somebody who can understand that and won't make fun of them or whatever, may not always. They may assume that could happen. So. So, have a great weekend, Hobbies Hobo. Thanks for stopping by. And I know Tara says I have an arrangement with my local range. They know what I am doing, and if they need or want further instructions, I steer them towards their classes. By that time, they've met them. So that does always help when you can kind of introduce and be the go-between, because not one of us knows everything, and so sometimes we do need to be like, hey, I can show you this, but for this kind of instructions, DM Fost would be way better. Let me introduce you to him. And then DM may teach him stuff and say, hey, for more instructions, let me hand you off to my buddy G-Webs. And then G-Webs teaches them stuff and says, hey, guess what? I can hand you off to, Maj Toure, who can teach you even more. And maybe Maj says, hey, I can hand you off to Masad Ayub, and it just keeps going down the range,
Trying to figure out what question this person asked that went through that chain.
when
They're looking for the best mansplainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something going east. I'm just thinking like it went from like Washington to Tucson to Philadelphia to New Hampshire or Florida, I guess. But it kind of went east.
Yeah, we had to cover the entire country,
Where do you buy a lobster? I don't know. I'm gonna ask my friend in Tucson. Like, what do you ask me for? I don't know. Ask somebody who lives in Philadelphia, maybe. Like, I don't know. Where do you have the ocean? Ask somebody who lives in Florida. Like, all right. And then Moss is going to tell you to go find somebody in a boat.
Yep. See, I can come up with some horrible whatever you want to call it, kind of, like analogies,
Yeah, your mansplations need more work.
right?
I feel like the world's better off even with bad mansplaining than without having stuff mansplained a lot repetitively. Otherwise, how will they learn?
Sometimes it's got to be done. So, Mr. Foss, do you have any thoughts or comments you want to throw out there?
Nothing I can think of offhand.
I'll throw this out. Maybe we can, with Every Second Matters, where would you like to see it go and evolve from where it's at now? We'll start with G-Webs.
Oh, well, I know where I'm taking it. So, I guess I'm going to try to. There's a site called Hey Jackass that sarcastically archives and chronicles, I guess that's the way to say it, like the violence in Chicago. I don't like that part of it, but the display of the information is well done. And that's my goal, is to have Every Second Matters be a scoreboard, so to speak, of the different things that are going on out there. I tried to talk about that on the wrap up yesterday, that our challenge, and I think that's the new strategy. Our challenge is to keep track of everything so that we know what's important, right? Like individually, we got a lot of stuff on our radars, and none of the national level organizations gives us a real radar screen to pay attention to. They give us a blow by blow of their actions, but unless their actions involve one of the other groups, we don't know what they're doing. We definitely don't have no strategy, and we can't see any patterns because nothing's at 30,000 foot view. So we had a thing back in the day called that Early Watch that I think it's still around in the mornings a little bit, but for a while Early Watch had began to evolve into a bunch of people gathering and filtering or just gathering and accumulating data, right? News articles, stuff that was focused on Second Amendment, and then the couple of guys would disseminate or broadcast that data every morning, or like that was the goal at least. And that engine almost started. It almost got going, and then circumstances, the world happens. We are all amateurs trying to do this on our free time, right? Like we're all just trying to make this happen. So that worked against us, and circumstances, just the way that everybody's life happened, it ended. But that almost got to where there were people in different areas that were bringing information, paying attention to what was going on there, bringing that information in, and then it being disseminated so everybody could have one place to go get that data. Now they were farting around paying attention to the news of the day. So I was going to tap into that and use that infrastructure and just filter out all the 2A stuff. And Gizzard, you may have heard of a guy named Gary Gizzard, or Gizzard Gary, I think he goes by now, was one of the people that was helping me to get that started. And that never got anywhere because of lots of reasons, right? I'm not independently wealthy. I can't just go do whatever I feel like anytime I want. So we're getting that going, and we're just going to downscale it and get the mechanism, the systems in place working, and then see what the results are. But the goal would be to have a scoreboard. I don't know if I'm using the right word. When I go into Vegas, I always park by the sports, but I don't know nothing about sports. I just can get closer to the casino that way. So, or, wherever I'm going, usually at this one place, wherever we meet for this one thing, this one gun show, basically, I have to park, and I park by the sports. So I go in the sports and I walk around and I can get to the gun show the quickest. So I keep walking past, I don't know what that place is called, where all the sports bets happen. And there's this giant screen with all the different sports stuff. I don't know if it's scores or horse races, all the stuff that's going on. And I'm like, that's what we need for 2A. We need a place where people can walk up and go, I need to know what's happening with, bump stocks, or what's going on with ARs in general, what's going on with Tennessee, right? That kind of thing. What is this person, and how does that, why are they worried about this? Oh, it's because they came from here, right? Like, so there's nothing that helps us just have that radar screen. So maybe I should start using radar screen instead of scoreboard, because I don't know what a scoreboard is. But that's what I'm going to attempt to do with Every Second Matters going forward, is to bring a group of people together that we're going to gather and post the scoreboard on a useful set of data, so that anybody having any kind of conversation or research or whatever can go find documented, up-to-date, current status of whatever they're doing, because started this whole thing. I think that their strategies that they're using now are to use tactics that they've used many times before and never worked. But their strategy is to use these tactics all at once to wear us out. Does that make sense? If I'm saying those words right, then that's their new strategy, is to try to get us to be so frustrated at a time when it costs us so much money to do this stuff that we don't know what to do and we just stop doing it, or we just get frustrated and we pull back. Because if they're really paying attention, honestly, if they're seriously paying attention, they know that every Second Amendment activist that's worth a shit is on a shoestring budget, either doing it with the family suffering, or, having stress with their partner because they're constantly traveling or something, or they're single and, running around trying to rack up travel bills and stuff. Like, we're all just people with bills trying to do this. There's no lobby of industry people in suits flying around and just paying attention to this. So if they really wanted to mess with us, they just stress everybody out so that the limited amount of support people got, or, they can try to, fatigue that metal, our metal. So Every Second Matters will be a way to try to offer everybody some insight, so that everybody isn't trying to do everything all the time. And at least that element, we all have a consistent data set to point to. And then if that strengthens the community to go, oh shit, if those losers can figure out how to make it happen, then we can certainly do this better and more effectively and, finish the job. Because that's our tendency, right? To look at what somebody else did and go, I can do that better. Or, they should have done this instead.
Yeah. I know there's been a few people out in the comments that Smeggy says, I like to see it grow into a household name that can be used to rally the troops when needed and provide all the tools needed to make activists. And I know
we're definitely going to incorporate that into the project somehow. It might not be in Every Second Matters, but it may. It'll kind of depend, because I can't tell it what to do. But if the people that show up are down with that, then it could turn into that. That's something that more than one person with the ways and means, in other words, some rich dude that came around and said he was gonna, more than once said, "Oh, I'm gonna make a resource for activists so that there's like all these things that you do, everything you can need is just in one place." Because all we're really talking about is like, how do you do this, or how do you do that, or here's the way to contact this and get that done. Like that's all we really need, and we haven't. I don't see it anywhere. So I don't know if that's really Every Second Matters' role to provide that, but like I say, if we can create a thing that is competent and it's effective, then we could easily add a task like that if everybody wanted to. Basically creating resources, like, oh, you want to start a rally? Well, here's what has worked for other people. Here's what didn't work for people. Good luck. And if you are, and it's not weird, then, there's a bunch of people that are going to help you promote it.
Yep. Mr. Foss, how would you like to see this grow and evolve?
I don't have a good answer for you. I'm kind of on the periphery of it, where I try and participate when I can, but I'm not heavy into it.
So I like what G Webs is saying, and the way Smeggy is kind of thinking is, yeah, I would like to see it be, like a household name, but it doesn't have to be like teaching people how to become 2A advocacy, because if it's a household name, people are starting to know what the basis of what Every Second Matters is. And, we're just trying to bring awareness and help everyone understand on going about, protecting your rights and, protecting yourself, because like a lot of us say is when seconds count, law enforcement is often minutes away. It's nothing bad about, that cops aren't there. There's no way that a cop could be everywhere at all times.
Well, there is, but that's the whole point, is that who wants to live in a world where nothing bad can happen because there's literally cops in front of everybody's house or something? Like, we all live in little apartments that, there's only one door so nobody can come in, and there's a policeman at the end of the hallway so that, nobody can sneak around in and out of the doors. Might as well be in jail.
Yeah.
That's the only way to create that environment, right?
And
or have giant budgets so that there's cops, or have so many cops that there's so many on duty. Nobody who, hates guns or whatever wants that. They all seem to hate the idea of a giant police force usually. So that's an angle. Like, we're not asking for. Oh, go ahead. I interrupted you.
What were you saying, Foss?
Well, I was just gonna say, when you don't want to turn your country into a police state. That's that's the way it can go when you're putting a cop on every corner.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's been a couple more good comments out there. Tara Smith says activism happens when it affects you. Absolutely. Mandatory Carry says when seconds count, everyone is hours away. First aid, fire, fighting, self-defense, they all matter. And yeah. Not only are you going to, if you carry the tool to defend yourself, you should also carry tools to be able to protect yourself and stop the bleed, because you never know when something could happen. You know, and it doesn't have to be a gunshot. You know, you could be driving down the road and come across a really nasty car accident. And if you can stop and provide aid until better trained people show up, you know, it's always going to come back to, you know, a good thing.
For legal reasons, I don't like to actually provide aid, but I'll oftentimes stop and then mansplain to them how they could have done it in a better way to not have wound up the way they wound up. So I'll just give them a lecture until the police get there, help the police find them. Hey, they're over here. That's the talking. Helpful.
Yeah. And Music Logic, or the artist formerly known as TPC, says you have hundreds of YouTubers. How about hurting some of the big mouths and putting together mass messaging first on a single talking group and develop the message through multiple messaging? And Ozzy says, I carry a gun because cops are too heavy. It would get tiring after about 30 seconds of carrying somebody.
Remember Twiggy? What if you had a cop that was like that Disc, Professor Disc or whatever? Professor Glittery Disc that Twiggy would carry around? I'd carry that cop around.
Dr. Theopolis.
Oh, snap. Yep.
And
So
then,
he'd be messing with you. Be like, I got a cop. Like, oh, snap. This guy's got a robot cop on his chest. Let's get out of here. Let's cheese it.
and then Burnaby Sanchez
Oh, maybe
says,
that's the answer. We don't need cameras on cops. We just need cop cameras. We all carry around a cop narc camera, and we carry it around on our chests, looking straight out, and then nobody can mess with you because you got a narc camera right on you.
doesn't everyone carry around a cell phone? Isn't that kind of the same thing?
I guess so. You got to pay for that, though. I'm thinking the state should give it to us for free.
Well, so Burnaby Sanchez says education is the key to moving forward. The false narratives of the left must be addressed.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%. And I think that's what I'd said a long way before, is that's I see that already have happened and happening. We're seeing that happen. If they were confident, this is who's been saying, somebody brought up, and it's pretty good, that if they were too worried about gun owners, then they wouldn't be protesting the NRA or whatever. They'd be worried about it or something. Or that they at least wouldn't be getting the gun owners pissed off all the time because they know we're not not just violent. We don't just fall off the handle or whatever. Oh, no, lost what I was going after.
And absolutely, I mean, a lot of the left target the Second Amendment because they know that we're just going to comply. We're going to follow what the new law says, even if we hate it. We're still going to follow it until we can figure out how to get it taken care of. It's not like we're Antifa or BLM and start torching cities trying to get what we want.
I think we were talking about education, so I must have been saying that I think the evidence is that. Oh, okay. I think what I was going to say, maybe I got myself tripped up just trying to go on that tangent or whatever, is that if they were right with their stupid polls that they bring up once in a while that say that most gun owners want blah blah blah, whatever, whatever lie they say. However, they misinterpret some data to suggest that all gun owners want anything, right? But even if that, or if they were really believe that, then they would have gone for an assault weapons ban or something, or not gone after everything and only gone after the one thing, right? Like something, universal background checks, whatever, something that they think is the most heinous, or the thing that's the thing that opens the door to the next thing. They would have only gone after that. You know what I mean? Like if they really wanted to be, is the right word tactical or strategic? I don't know. But if they really wanted to play the game and win, I think they would have gone after one thing and demanded, this is the one thing. And if you don't go with this one thing, then, you know what I mean? Like that, they could have got that. But they instead went with the shotgun approach, and they lost most of everything and settled. And we're happy with a couple of the pellets hitting, and they can all walk around whatever. So I think there's that indication that that we're winning, because they couldn't just take, they couldn't just say, oh, we got everything going our way and here's what we decide to take.
Yeah, tactical is like one move, and strategic is all the moves put together.
Yeah, the strategic is the accumulation of little tactical decisions, right? Strategic
Yeah.
is the accumulation of tactical. Okay.
I've been reading the side chat, so Ozzy says, did you see the statement from the New York governor about not needing data on CCW holders committing crimes? Well, it'd be a pretty short list if I would think. That, because I don't know many CCW holders that actually are out there committing crimes.
Oh, they just said something on Polite Society, I think, something to the effect of, if I do this, yeah, it does shove it over there. You can put the comments up on the screen if I do that. Polite Society was saying something to the effect of, or maybe it wasn't them. Anyway, somebody I was listening to said something like, where the concealed carriers are 86% more law-abiding than the police. Or, is that right? Can that be right? But yeah, we're way more law-abiding than anybody. I think, well, we probably are the most law-abiding. This is what it looks like when I point a camera at my dog when I'm flying around the drone this morning. She could care less about what I'm doing.
So was just flying the drone in your backyard?
No, I can't. I have to drive really far away. So I went out this morning before the show and drove it around a little bit. Tried to get some, it's like raining, some impressive sunrise type of thing. It must have been up in the air. See, she's looking up a little bit.
Yep.
What do you call it when you have a parachute, kind of, and then you have a giant propeller behind you, and you sit down in front of the propeller and scoot along, and then it flies? There's a name for that. I don't know what it is, but they were flying out there today.
Like parasailing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's motorized, not the kind where you just jump off a hill, but you just scoot along. I don't know if there was wheels. I couldn't really tell, but it seemed pretty neat. They seemed like they were barely moving. So she might have been looking at them flying around. It's kind of noisy, but when they're far enough away, you barely hear them. When they're closer to you, it sounds like a dirt bike or something, I guess.
Yeah. I've seen those. So have a good afternoon, Music Logic, and I think 223 DMR is taking off. So do we have anything more to discuss about Foss?
Not that I can think of.
Mr. G Webs, do we have any more topics
I mean,
you want to discuss?
Tons of stuff, but we don't have to just keep going. It's 2 hours in. Unless you went back and starred anything that was like an actual thing that we didn't hit, or because there's been a lot of comments in there.
Yeah,
I'm scrolling back, but I don't have any way to star. It'd be cool if they gave us a way to highlight comments, not necessarily so that they go live, but so that we can tag them like you can with the star.
yeah. Foss and I both can tag. But
I guess I'll mention then that halfway through the month, just to kind of remind people that it's coming, because it's tough to get people to join a chat when you only tell them like 3 days before. Hey, remember that monthly chat? It's tomorrow, right? So then I'll try, hey, remember 2 weeks from now is that monthly chat. So somewhere in there is the sweet spot, right? I don't know what. It's different for everybody, depending on what pace people read emails and stuff. So I started doing a chat or a thing in the middle of the month, and kind of the updates, the maintenance that you got to do if you want to pay attention to a channel. Go in there and fiddle with it and poke at it and whatever, clean it up. So I figured instead of just doing that quietly while I'm watching one of y'all doing one of your chats, I would just go live and show people what you have to do, just some of the dumb maintenance, the garbage that you have to do to make a channel, fluff it up, and then doing that on the 16th or the 15th or somewhere in the middle of the month is kind of a reminder that, hey, there's the Every Second Matters. This isn't the show, but it's there, and at the same time it'll help the channel out or whatever. It'll help do whatever maintenance I'm doing helps, right? Like it accomplishes whatever task I'm trying to do. So each month, I don't even remember, I came up with the idea and scheduled some stuff out. So if anybody wants to share those or pay attention to them when they show up in the middle of the month, that's the goal there, is just to kind of go around and kick Every Second Matters in the gut halfway through the month, so that people remember that on the 2nd we do stuff like this.
oh, Ozzy threw a link to the gun controlling governor, says the part out loud, I don't need numbers to take your rights. So there is a link out there to that. So thank you, Ozzy. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on to putting together informative live streams, and not just, there's times where it's just fly by the seat of your pants. Those can be fun, and I do that a lot. So I kind of think gotta go start having more forum kind of styles where we stay on topic a lot more. Might be a way of going about producing more live streams, but we'll see how everything goes. And I think we're going to start wrapping this up. So, Mr. G Webs, is there anything you want to say or promote before we get out of here?
No, thanks again for hosting the chat, and thanks for everybody that values your own contributions and participates in more than one thing out there. That's how we get information around, and we challenge and make each other aware of other stuff that's going on. So that's all about. Thanks for being part of it.
And thank you for joining us. Mr. Foss, is there anything you want to promote before we get out of here? He might have stepped away from the mic. So I know he should be doing an overnight chat later tonight.
He's obligated to.
Yeah, this is his required weekend, so
I was muted. Sorry. Gearwebsite.com for 2A related patches, stickers, t-shirts, and sundries. Check out gearwebsites.com.
so what do you have a topic for your show tonight?
We'll probably cover the Supreme Court rulings, talk about that for a little bit. We're going to end up migrating from Discord to Guilded. So we'll talk about that, kind of explain what's up with Guilded. A little bit about that.
Guilded, hot new communications platform that's trendy and everybody digs, and it's the cool way to go. That's the one you're talking about?
Yep.
Damn, that's fly.
I did forget about that. I do have a Guilded page. So, I'm still trying to understand it, so maybe I'll figure it out someday. What else do we got going on the agenda there, Mr. Foss?
Well, that's about it.
So, I want to thank everyone that has been on the panel. Foss, G-Webs. We had Chris from the 740. I was hoping we were going to get Brooke Cheney on, but she had a training class to do this morning. So I want to thank everyone who's been in the side chat participating and helping keep this going. I look forward to listening in to G-Web's Every Second Matters chat at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern Metric Time. So, everyone have a good night, good afternoon, good evening, good night. And hopefully Tara will do a chat. And remember that this is the 4th of July weekend. A lot of men and women paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be free. And so while we're having our barbecues and drinking our beer, we can make sure that we understand why our country was created from 1776 on to now. So enjoy, everyone, and we are out.